Hey, what's going on? It's Joe Rock, and I'm proud to have with me an amazing drummer, a guy I've been lucky enough to meet a number of times over the years, Liberty Devitto. How's it going, Lib?
It's going well, Joe. It's nice to see you.
Same here, same here. So listen, you got the book, and the first thing I want to talk to you about is the title. So the title is Life, Billy, and the Pursuit of Happiness.
Yes.
The thing that strikes me about it is normally the word where Billy goes is liberty.
Right.
Tell me why you chose to name it that.
Well, because let me just do this. As you can see, up here, liberty was really big. So, having the name like that, I thought like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's like, yeah, the book is about me, but it's also about my relationship with a guy that I had for 30 years. And when we kind of parted ways, and it wasn't very nice what happened, and for 15 years, and then we reconciled our relationship, and we're friends again, which I'm very grateful for.
Well, the cool thing about it is, with all the years that you played with Billy and everything that happened, you had a really great way of mapping that out in the book. And it's really, it's a lesson in the musician that you are, where you describe, like you went through the albums and really took apart different songs and told this backstory that we're not going to get anywhere else. And it's a tribute to the knowledge that you have.
Well, it all started, the book, I started to write the book because I wanted to write a family history for my children. That was my intention. My dad lived till he was 91 years old, and my mom 89. I got to interview them on cassette tape, and a couple of my aunts, I got to interview them what life was like when my grandparents came over from Italy, and what it was like when they grew up. And so it started out like that. And then I would tell stories to people, about the band and things, and they said, you should write a book. So I started to include that. But when I started to write, I was still angry at what happened between me and Billy. So what I did, I didn't want to throw people under the bus. All that stuff, it's nobody's business what, went on and it makes us look ugly when it's just childish to try to write something like that. So I thought, what I'm going to do? I'm going to look at this things from the position of standing in Billy's shoes. Like, why did he do the things he did? First of all, his Billy Joel's name's on the marquee. He's got to write a new album, 14 songs. 4 of them have to be top 40 hits. He plays the piano, he sings. He pays everybody, the crew, everybody. He's got a family that he's dealing with also. I'm the drummer that plays with him. And I'm getting pissed off because he wants to go out in May, and I want to go out in April. It's like, why are we waiting so long? So anyway, he does things because that's what made him successful. How many other guys have been around for 30 years? I mean, more than 30 years now. Billy's still playing the garden, selling it out. The things he had to do was he had to stay current. He had to keep moving forward, or else, he's like a shark. If he stops swimming forward, he dies, That's what the people in the music business are like. If you stop swimming forward, you will die.
Yeah.
So that's why he made the decisions that he made. And I can't blame him for it.
But you know what? This is one of the things I was impressed about, because I had no idea what was going to be covered before I picked up the book to read it. The sole thing I knew is that you wrote the book and that Billy wrote the foreword.
Right.
And one of the things that made me feel closer to you, like we've met a few times before, we get along with Joe. I've opened up for the Lords, everything like that. And it's like, when I read it, I'm like, this guy's me. I grew up on the South Shore of Long Island, a little bit after you, maybe more than a little bit. Well, I'll try to be generous to myself at my age. But I'm like reading all this stuff. I'm like, we've lived the same life to some extent. Like I obviously didn't have the fame, didn't have the success, but I related to it. And I think anybody who picks it up and reads it and reads your family history is going to relate to it. What was it like for you to put all that detail, honestly, of yourself into a book?
Well, let me tell you something, Joe. A guy sent me an email. He said, I live in Seaford. I grew up in Seaford too. That's the town I grew up in. And he says, I'm 15 years younger than you are. When you were explaining the things about Seaford and the things that you did, I felt like you were the older guy telling the story, walking on one side of the street, and I was the younger kid watching you, because I did the same things as I grew up too, you know? So that's what it basically is about. You know, most of us are immigrants. You know, our families are from immigrant families. You know, they came from Italy, they came from Ireland, they came from Germany, they came from all over the place. Now China, the new immigrants. So everybody has the same story about what it was like growing up. You know, somebody hates somebody else, and you know, it was rough in the beginning, and so everybody basically has the same story. You could take that story and just change some names and put couple of different places in, you know, having reading porn magazines when you were younger, finding them in the street. Come on, he did the same thing. You know, it's like, yeah, all that stuff happened. And but I think when the reader reads it, it's like, oh my God, he did the same thing we did. And that's what the book is about. There's too many books out there like that. I'm a great rock star and you know, I had sex with 10,000 girls, and no, this is my journey. Like Billy says in the forward, it's not his book, it's my book. You know, this is how I saw it, the whole thing. And you become the person, when you grow up, you become the person that you develop your personality through your family. That's, you know, and that's how I developed. And the book tells how I developed from being a kid because of the people that came before me, and how, you know, having a very abusive dad, you know, I would love to go in my room and just listen to music all the time. I didn't want to be around him, you know, when he came home. So, I mean, it wasn't the greatest time in my life, but it was the greatest time in my life because I was really getting into music, you know? So all those things led to the guy that you're talking to right now.
Yeah. And you know what? One of the things that I love about the book is I feel that I'm talking to a happy guy. And that maybe he wasn't always.
Right. Because when I saw you, you know, in the beginning, when fortunately, I was very angry when me and Billy parted ways. And even when we were inducted into the Long Island Music Hall of Fame, I was still so angry that I wasn't going to do it. I mean, I told him I don't want to have anything to do with it. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine from a drum company that I was endorsing at the time said to me, "Do you really want to go back there again?" You know, I was like, "No, I really don't. I don't want to go back there again." I had it. Songs would come on the radio, I'd turn them off, change the channel, you know, stuff like that. But Russell and Richie convinced me that we should do it. It's a great honor. And so we had to learn one song to play, but we learned a whole bunch of them, you know. And because the crowd reaction was so great, we ended up, instead of playing one song, we played 5 songs, you know. And then we thought, we should do this. There are tribute bands that are doing well. We're the guys that really did it, you know. We should be doing it. So as I'm relearning the songs, I'm starting to fall in love with the music again. And every time I listen to the songs, it put me right back in the studio. How those records were made and how much fun we had making them. So that's why that was easy to write all that stuff about the songs, you know. And so I'm in love with the songs again. I'm playing them again with Richard Canada and Russell Jabbers, right in the Lords of 52nd Street. The only thing that's missing now is my friend that I looked at for 30 years. And we joked on stage, we joked in the studio, you know, our families spent Thanksgivings together. So one night laying in bed, I thought, your piano drum feud has got to be over. It's got to be done. And I emailed them immediately, right back. I feel the same way, you know? So it was great. So now I got the music back. I got my friend back. I'm a happy camper.
There you go. You know what? I don't say stuff like this often, but I feel, and don't hit me when I see you next time, but like the next time I see you, I want to, after reading the book, I want to walk up to you and give you a hug, man.
See, now you have to, because, you know, you saw the end of the book when everybody used to say, "What are you going to do if you see Billy?" And I always used to say that one thing. And then when I saw him, it was like, okay, I did it, you know?
Well, you know, some of the stuff we really want to talk about, because I was kind of surprised, and I really shouldn't have been, when you're talking about your musical evolution and your education.
Mm.
You were so much more of a soul guy at the beginning than a rock guy.
Yeah.
You know, and
Oh,
I that surprised me, but it shouldn't have.
right. R&B, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I used to practice to all those, you know, R&B songs, but I cut my teeth with the greatest blue-eyed soul guy, Mitch Ryder. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
he's got soul, but he still rocked it, you know. So, I mean, that was my first, like, almost like a slap in the face of rock and roll. Like, whoa, my God, this is unbelievable. You know, and then when I left that band and they told me what albums I should listen to, they were all R&B albums,
Yeah.
you know, like Otis Redding and the Meters and stuff like that. So I really studied that stuff, you know, and then got deep into soul, you know, and then the blues and all that, you know, basic. It's not the notes that they're playing, it's how they're playing them. You know, like when you listen to Rush, they're a great band, but it's also the notes that they're playing.
Yeah.
You know, it's the technique that they have. R&B and blues is like, it's the feeling that you get from that, listening to that music. Even if it's just as simple as them playing one note through the whole song, you still feel that record, you know? So that was a big part of learning.
Yeah. Well, you know, I definitely heard that because I don't know if you remember, we did a Q&A one time,
Mhm.
and you guys played very stripped down. And
Yep.
one of the things you did was a New Orleans feel version of You May Be Right.
Yeah.
That was beyond cool.
Well, you know, I actually found, I need your email address because I actually found the band that I played was called the Funk Club in Florida that we did. She's Got Away and You May Be Right in R&B kind of things. When Billy heard them, he called it Soul Joel, you know, and I found the tracks. I found them. So I can actually send them to you. You can hear the way it sounded back then. Yeah.
Ah, cool. Definitely. You know, once we wrap this up, so I don't give everybody out there my email address, I'll give you my email. But you know what? I really have to say that the book is fantastic. You know, I've read a lot of these different books, and I think the important thing is that you really took the risk in putting yourself completely out there. And I two things about it that really struck me. One is that you talk about your drum being your companion. You have your My Drum parts through it. And then also, too, you discuss the fact that as a drummer, you need a band.
Yeah.
Like I started out as a drummer, switched the guitar because I was like, I want to be able to go out and do shows myself. And plus, it seemed like the guitar players got more girls at the level I play at. So,
well, that's a lie. That's a lie right there.
so, but you know, were you comfortable from the get-go putting yourself that far out there in the book?
Well, you know, I wanted it to be really honest because after, I don't know if you saw Hired Gun.
I did.
We were really honest about Hired Gun. You know, you see a lot of videos like The Wrecking Crew and 6 Feet from Stardom and all those ones. It's like, wow, this is the greatest business in the world. Everything's peachy keen. They go in the studio and they make a lot of money. These girls sing background and they go on the road and they're playing with the big stars and everything. Hired Gun was like, whoa. You mean to tell me that you're doing 6 months with somebody, you're laying in bed waiting for the next one to start, and you get an email that says, she changed direction, tour's canceled, have fun. You know, like it was real. Hired Gun was real, you know. So I wanted this book to be real. I wanted it to be about me, and this was my journey, because the Hired Gun only dealt with what happened between me and Billy. And Russell was in it too, so he had some of it too. But this was about like, how did my grandparents come from Italy, and then 2 generations later, one of the same name DeVitto is playing with one of the biggest single artists ever, You know, how did that happen? So it's about the roads that I had to take to get to that point.
Yeah.
Some of them were very dark, and I was fortunate enough to back out of them. Others, like Doug Stegmeyer, unfortunately, couldn't get off that road,
Right.
and ended up, you know, ending his life. So, you know, that's what it's about. I mean, some young kid that wants to be a musician will read this book and go, wow, it's not like American Idol, where you go in competition and then you win and then they take care of you. No, no, you got to pay. You got to pay dues. That's why they stink, you know, those people on American Idol, because they sound like, you know, you go to a wedding and the bride gets up in front of the band and asks them, "Can my cousin sing?" You know, she's a great vocalist. Can she sing? That's what they sound like on American Idol. They haven't paid dues. They haven't been in clubs. They haven't been,
Right.
you know, it's just like insane. This is what happened. This is what happens to every musician that makes it big. You got stripes on your arm, man, you know, hash marks. Like, you got beat a few times.
Yeah.
You know, there was one thing I didn't even put in the book because I didn't realize it until somebody said, one of the clubs that has in the city that had a lizard on top of it. What the heck was the name of it? Oh, I forget the name of it. Anyway, this club owner wouldn't pay. It was with Tapa, when we were with Tapa.
Yeah.
And we were playing this club, and the guy didn't want to pay us after the show was over. So I'm standing there, and a friend of my lawyer, I got him into, he came with us, you know. His name was Charlie. Charlie keeps looking at me and going, "You want me to throw the guy off the roof?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? Have another drink." "No, really, you want me to throw this guy?" I didn't realize until I saw this documentary on the mafia, and this guy's being interviewed. He was serious. You know, it's like sometimes you meet that kind of person when you're playing, because they love music too, but it's like, how do you stay away from them? You know, be nice to them but stay away.
Well, it's funny because you did mention some family names in the book, not related to, but family names that I recognized, that I heard from other musicians around the same kind of time period. And I'm like, oh, I recognize those names in the family and the business they're in.
Yeah, like my friend Mike Cody, who was in the first band I was in. You know, his father was a very, very powerful man. You know, he got us our first gigs. You know, it was like nobody could move. They had to listen to us.
Well, you know, I'm really psyched because you got the book. The book's doing great. The Lords is going great. Hopefully, I know that even in quarantine, you guys have been able to do some drive-in shows.
Yeah.
And the Slim Kings album is coming, right?
It is. It's coming out in October. Very excited about that. You know, the Lords is a great thing to do because of the memories. And, you know, when you're making those records, you don't realize the changes you're making in people's lives. You don't realize what you're doing for them. But now that I've met so many people and so many fans, and I'm getting to meet them through the Lords, I hear the stories, you know, and it's like, wow, we did that, you know. It's amazing. I used to say, "Oh, you need a life, man. How many times did you see us? 162 times? You're out of your mind. You need a life." I get it now. You know, they were great. You know, and when somebody says that you were my Ringo, you know, it's like, oh, I get it. You know, we were very popular. Now the Slim Kings, because I write with the other guys and we record all our own material, they keep me current because they're younger than I am, you know. So I'm the old school guy, because our connection is when they come into me and they have a hip hop song and they say, "We want to do a beat like this," and they'll play me the song and I'll go, "That's an old Motown beat." "What, are you kidding me? Yeah, we can do that. It's not a problem," you know. So that's where we connect, you know.
Yeah.
But it keeps me current, you know. So it's cool.
Well, you know, I think that's one of the things that I was also impressed about, because you talk so much about all the different music. You're talking about classical music in here. You're talking about the first time you're playing a merengue. It's like you learned music. And, you know, it's funny because one of the things I was really happy for, because you had mentioned her early on in the book. Early in the book, you were talking about all the girls when you were growing up from the one group they were supposed to kind of look like Ronnie Spector. And I had run into you a couple of years ago out at the NAMM convention, and I got to see you later play with Ronnie Spector. And it's just, I love seeing that, because it's so cool when people connect with their heroes, and to see you be able to connect with your heroes the same way some of these people are connecting with you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's how come I get it now. I know, I went to see Danny Serafine. He's the original drummer for Chicago. He's got a band called CTA. It's the California Transit Authority. And I went to the cutting room in Manhattan, and I'm with a bunch of friends up in the balcony, and I'm singing along with all the songs. And this one woman comes up to me, a friend of mine, and she says, "You see the way you feel right now?" I went, "Yeah, I feel great. I remember these songs. I remember where I was the first time she said, "That's how we feel when we hear you guys play." I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. So with all this stuff going on, what's next?
I'm going to come up with a cure for this virus. Yeah, you're looking at a guy that never took drum lessons, that got to play with one of the biggest single artists in the world, barely met out of high school now, and wrote a book. I know nothing about science or chemistry. I think I'll cure the virus.
Well, man, watching the way you did everything else, I don't for a second doubt that you can do it.
Yeah. The other day, Donald Trump has just been, somebody told me, they said, Donald Trump is getting the Nobel Peace Prize. And I said to my wife, he's getting the Nobel Peace Prize. And she goes, no, he's been nominated to get it. Anybody can be nominated. And I said, why don't you nominate me? That's next.
Well, there you go. Listen, man, I got to tell you, it's great seeing you. It was fantastic to read the book. Anybody who's watching this, you have to read it. Go out, buy it, read it, download it, however you get it. It was a great rock story, man. And, thank you for putting it all down on pen and paper,
Well, thank you, brother. And, it's on Amazon.com. You get the Kindle, whatever the thing is called, where you get it automatically. I don't know how the hell it works. But, and HudsonMusic.com.
I just wrote the thing. I don't know anything else.
I don't know nothing about this. They call me up and they go, hey, do you want to do this photo thing? People send in photos of you and them, and, it'll regenerate whatever you want to do. What do you want to do? I'm surprised. When I first wrote it, my wife said, when I got the publishing deal, my wife said, look, if you sell one book, who cares? Your family has a history of what you did, your life. I didn't know it was going to when Billy read it before he wrote the forward, and he said it back to me, and he said, wow. I was like, okay, I think I got something here.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's just like the icing on the cake too, that this led to you, burying the hatchet and reacquiring an old friendship. Yeah.
See, let's have a fight, and then I'll write another book, put you in it, and then you can write the book.
I don't think too many people are going to care about me writing a forward for a book, but I thank you for putting me in the same category as Billy Joel.
There you go. Are you like at Sam Ash or something? Where are you with the guitars in the background?
This is my home.
Wow.
I was going to sit in front of my drum kit because I got my drums over there. I figured it appropriate for you, but they're too low. When I set the thing up, all you saw was one cymbal off over here. I'm like, all right, we're going with the guitars.
Yeah, cool. Is that a Fender bass right there?
Actually, that's a PV. Got a Les Paul, got a McGuinn signature Rickenbacker. I got all kinds of things. I got a special Michael Kelly guitar because you mentioned Sam Ash. They're subsidiaries. I got all kinds of cool stuff. Someday we'll set it up. You come by the house, you will jam.
Yeah.
I got a kid here all set up. You don't have to bring nothing but sticks.
I always have them in the car.
Yeah. Well, too, you remember I have Mendoza from Twisted Sister playing bass in my band, so he'd be more than happy to play with you.
Yeah, he's a great player.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, man, I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you giving us the time. And, whatever's next, we'll talk again.
Looking forward to seeing you.